In the hushed tapestry of forgotten memories, there exists a tale that weaves through the fabric of the ordinary and the inexplicable. It begins in the realm of childhood innocence, a time when the world is a playground, and malls are the epicenters of youthful wonder. In the confines of a bustling mall, young Jake was ensnared by the siren call of the toy section. It was a sanctuary of vibrant delights where every childhood dream seemed tangible. Yet, on one fateful day, Jake's rendezvous with destiny was set in motion, and it would etch itself into the very marrow of his existence. A woman, with an appearance that belonged to the 90s, but exuded an unearthly precision, descended upon Jake. Her attire, perfectly unrumpled, and her hair, an immaculate geometric marvel, appeared as though a creation from the realm of anime. As she stooped down, her eyes locked onto Jake's, and her voice, laden with an otherworldly knowledge, pierced the child's soul. "We're watching you, Jake," she intoned, uttering his name with an eerie certainty. The words hung in the air, an enigma that defied explanation. Jake, a mere child, found himself paralyzed, incapable of discerning the meaning behind this cryptic encounter. He returned to the safety of his mother's side, who, incensed by the intrusion, sought the woman but found only an empty space, like a phantom that had danced briefly into their lives and then faded into the ether. Time passed, but the memory of that unsettling day remained etched in Jake's mind, a first taste of the inexplicable. Little did he know that his life would once again intersect with the uncanny, as if he were destined to walk the line between the ordinary and the supernatural. In the later chapters of his life, Jake found himself residing in a housing complex, replete with its own eerie tales. An undercurrent of strange occurrences whispered through the community, from lights flickering without reason to faucets running of their own volition. Such spectral anecdotes had become the norm, tales to share over hushed conversations. The spectral veil seemed drawn closer when, on the very first night in their new abode, both Jake and his wife were stirred from their slumber by an unspoken presence. The feeling was unmistakable, they were being watched, observed by unseen eyes in the shadows. Though nothing overtly sinister manifested, an awe of disquiet lingered, as if some otherworldly entity had marked them. Time passed, and a sense of uneasy cohabitation with the inexplicable became the new normal. Yet, the true ordeal awaited Jake in the darkest recesses of his final year in that mysterious abode. It was a night like any other. Jake lay in bed, his wife beside him, and the soft glow of a television casting a delicate luminescence upon their slumber. In the stillness of the night, he awoke, jolted from his dreams by an unknown stimulus. Slowly, he opened his eyes and beheld a vision that would haunt his nights for years to come. There, at the bedside, stood an old woman, her form ethereal and translucent, her attire akin to the regal garments of the Queen of England. Yet, her visage was a ghastly parody of humanity, with short white hair and a face that bore a malevolent semblance to Emperor Palpatine from a sinister tale of stars. Her eyes, the deepest shade of dark blue bordering on black, seemed to penetrate Jake's very soul, leaving him quaking in abject terror. With a blood-curdling scream, he flung himself from the bed, his wife awaking in a panic to the harrowing sight of her husband, pale as death and trembling. The apparition had vanished, but the palpable horror it left in its wake would linger, a nightmarish memory etched into the recesses of their minds. The spectral encounters of Jake were woven into the tapestry of his life, where the boundary between the mundane and the supernatural blurred into an enigmatic realm of uncharted terror. Though the apparitions might retreat into the shadows, the memory of that dreadful night would forever cast its long, chilling shadow over his existence. In the twilight of time, I ventured into a house steeped in a century's worth of secrets, nestled on the outskirts of a picturesque village. This seemingly charming abode concealed a malevolence that would shatter my beliefs and plunge me headlong into a chilling abyss of the paranormal. It all began with that ominous first night, a harbinger of the unspeakable horrors that awaited me. As I lay in bed, the quiet of the old house descended, enveloping me in a cloak of darkness. And then, from the corners of the room, a whisper, faint and spectral, slithered through the air like a phantom's breath. It was as if ethereal voices danced on the fringes of audibility, their cryptic language weaving a sinister tapestry. Days morphed into weeks, and the insidious murmurs persisted, growing more distinct, more unsettling. It was as though an assembly of unseen souls had gathered just beyond my bedroom walls, their intent shrouded in obscurity. I strained to decipher their eerie words, but their language eluded me, leaving me in a state of eerie unease. Then came the night when the whispers metamorphosed into an unthinkable nightmare. A ghastly blue light washed over the room, casting nightmarish shadows that danced upon the walls. The voices grew louder, their tone fraught with urgency, and a malevolent presence coalesced in the room. I could feel its icy breath upon my neck, and my heart raced with mounting dread. In the spectral glow, I glimpsed figures, their forms shifting and writhing like specters in torment. Desperation gripped me as I reached for the doorknob, but it remained obstinately immobile, a mocking barrier to my escape. The relentless whispers intensified, converging into an unsettling symphony that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. My voice quavered as I cried out, a plea for the unseen tormentors to relent. In an instant, the room fell silent, and the malevolent light faded. With trembling hands, I forced the door open and fled into the inky black hallway. The house once again lay in the grip of darkness, and the sinister presence had receded, though the scars it had inflicted upon my psyche remained. In the days that followed, I embarked on a quest for answers. Paranormal experts descended upon the house, unearthing a sinister tale buried deep within its history. The truth emerged like a specter from the shadows. My house had been the stage for a tragedy, a place where secrets were interred, and voices silenced in perpetuity. Determined to bring peace to the restless spirits, I conducted a solemn ceremony. Candles flickered, and incantations of forgiveness hung in the air as a sense of tranquility settled over the house. The whispers ceased, and the malevolent shadows that had tormented my nights retreated into the abyss of history. The nature of the haunting would forever elude my grasp, but I had learned a chilling lesson about the unseen forces that prowl the borderlands of our reality. I couldn't help but wonder if the spirits I encountered were lost souls yearning to unburden themselves, or if something darker, more malefic, had lurked in the shadows, waiting for that perfect, dreadful moment to reveal itself. I wanted to share a truly bizarre and unsettling experience that's been happening in my home recently. I've never been a believer in the paranormal, but I'm starting to question my skepticism. Over the past few weeks, my family and I have been hearing strange noises during the night. It's not just the usual creaks and groans of an old house, it's something more. We've heard footsteps in empty rooms, faint whispers when no one else is around, and doors slamming shut without any logical explanation. One night, my teenage daughter woke up screaming, claiming she saw a shadowy figure at the foot of her bed. I rushed to her room, but there was nothing there. She's been too frightened to sleep in her own room ever since. We've also noticed unusual temperature fluctuations, even in rooms with no windows open. And our pets have been acting strangely, barking and hissing at empty corners of the house. I've never been one to jump to conclusions, but I'm at a loss for explanations. Has anyone else experienced anything like this? Is it possible that our home is haunted, or could there be a rational explanation for these occurrences? Any advice or insights would be greatly appreciated. It was the night of the Super Bowl, and me and all my buddies found my great-grandmother's old Ouija board that was handed down to us. After deciding we were gonna use it, we set it all up and tried it a few times and nothing happened. After about 5 minutes of trying, they gave up and left the room for a bit. I, however, did not. I stayed back and tried it one last time to see what would happen. I turn off all the lights again and I begin. To my surprise, it worked. I was scared but asked a few things. My friends walked in the room and started laughing, thinking I was just screwing with them. Then I asked if it was friendly. It moved to the moon, indicating it was a demon. I looked up at my friends and they could see the pure terror in my eyes. Then they realized I wasn't just messing around. I asked a few more questions until we ended up to the demon saying it wanted to kill me. I freaked out and jumped up, forgetting to say goodbye. That night I felt very uncomfortable. I went to bed and eventually fell asleep after trying for hours. I awoke around 3:45 a.m. I looked up to see myself on the kitchen table, Surrounding me were 5 candles in the shape of a pentagram, with a steak knife lying beside me. The demon had possessed me to go get the candles, light them like a pentagram, and get the steak knife lay on the table. And then the worst part was I knew the demon I had spoke to earlier did this because I suddenly remembered I forgot to say goodbye to the board. I had a priest pray for me and cleanse my house. After this, I will never touch a Ouija board ever again. I know this all sounds fake. Even when I read it over, I thought, fuck, no one's going to believe this. However, it is true, this did happen, but it is your choice to believe it or not.